Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down AES Encryption, the algorithm that secures almost everything online. Your bank account transactions, messaging apps, cloud storage, it all uses AES. Now, I know encryption can feel a little intimidating, but I promise by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how AES takes your data, makes it practically impossible to crack. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's get started with our simple message that we want to encrypt. Could be secure message 16 today. AES works by converting these texts into numbers, and then it scrambles those numbers through multiple rounds of mathematical transformations. First, each character will get converted into its ASCII decimal value, and then it gets converted into binary, which is just ones and zeros. These values are arranged into a 4x4 grid called the state matrix. This 16-byte block is what AES operates on. AES then runs this state through multiple rounds of 4 operations: substitution, shifting, mixing, and key addition. Now, each round makes the data more scrambled, more secure, and more impossible to reverse without the key. And now here's something important to note. In actual AES encryption, this state matrix is immediately XORed with the very first round key called round key 0, before any other operation happens. But to keep our example clear and easy to follow, I'm going to use just the focus on the core transformations, which is subbytes, shift rows, and mix columns. So we're going to keep using just these original values. But in actual AES encryption, for the subbytes transformation, the state matrix is first XORed with the round key. For this visualization, we're only going to be focused on the core transformation, which is subbytes, shift rows, and mix columns. So the initial XOR operation will be simplified here to maintain a little clarity and consistent values throughout the demonstration. The round key is also a secret anyway, so showing the XOR values wouldn't add much meaningful insight here. When we reach the AddRoundKey page, you'll see exactly how the XOR operation works and why it's the critical security component. But again, when we get to the AddRoundKey page, you'll see exactly how the XOR step works and why it's one of the most important critical part of the whole process. But for now, just know that in real implementation, the key gets mixed right in from the start. So let's go ahead and break down each step one by one at a time. Okay, so now let's take a look at my binary conversion chart here. And let's just take the letter S, for example. Its ASCII value or decimal value is going to be 83. And it converts that into binary, which you see here. If you use a lowercase s and you try to duplicate this, do know that this will be changed. So these are all uppercase. And we do that for each character in our message, decimal to binary. And then these values get arranged left to right, row by row, into our 4x4 state matrix. And this goes all the way down. So S goes in position 0, E goes in position 1. Now, before we start transforming this data, there is one critical step, which is the initial XOR. We take our state matrix and we XOR it with the first round key. A round key is created by AES. It's another 4x4 that is kept secret, and the XOR flips the bits wherever the key has a 1. This means our key is injected right from the start, and this is important because without this step, everything would just be shuffling data. The key is what makes it all secure, and we'll be coming back to this later. And I realize this may be a trade-off, but we're going a little for clarity and not exactly accuracy. But if you want to take a look, for example, we have our plaintext of S, which is 83. And then let's say our round key and position 0 is 45. Now we XOR that, and our new value is 126. So 126 would go in position 0. And going forward, we will be using just this grid that we have here for a secure message for a little clarity. But do note that initially from the start, this will be XORed and changed. Okay, Now we're going into round 1. This first transformation is called subbytes, and it uses something called an S box. Think of it as a big substitution table. And where does this table exactly come from? Well, it's not random. It's built using math, specifically designed to scramble the data in a way that's really hard to reverse or predict. The math behind this table involves something called Galois field arithmetic and affine transformations. If you want to dive deeper on that, I'll leave a link to a resource in the description. But we won't dive too much into the math here. The result is this lookup table that has 16 rows and 16 columns with 256 different values. Every byte of our data gets swapped with a new value from this table. Let's take a look at S from our previous example. That's decimal 83. We swap that to hexadecimal, which is 53. I won't go too much into the math in that. I do have a small example here, but you can always look that up and try this yourself. So we split now the hex, first digit being 5, tells us the row. The second digit being 3 tells us the column. So we look up row 5 and we use column 3. So we get ED. So S becomes 237. And we do that by converting the hex of ED back into decimal. And on the right side here, there's a small conversion table with math. If you need an example, you can pause the video. So this happens to every byte in our data. And here's kind of the key. The S box kind of breaks the pattern a little bit. Without it, AES would just be shuffling and mixing in a predictable way that attackers could use simple algebra to crack it. The S box makes it a little more impossible. It's one of the main reasons AES is so secure. So now if we look at the top, we see our input, which was, secure message, 83 being the top left. Now we swapped it to the output. So now our output box looks a little different, and we're going to use this box as we keep going forward. So take a note of this arrangement here. So next up is going to be the shift rows operation. This one's a little simpler to understand, and we are using the same matrix that we had from our substitution page, the output from our substitution operation. And you can tell, so let's take a look at the rows here. And row 0, the top one, there's going to be no shift in these rows at all. We go down to the row 1, there's going to be a shift to the left. So all the numbers shift once to the left. And you can see here in the after shift rows, 4x4 matrix. And row 2, they shift 2 to the left. And finally, in row 3, they shift over 3 times. So this might feel pretty simple, but it is still crucial. Shift rows spreads data across columns, which sets up for our next step, which is going to be mixed columns. So moving on to our next operation, which is mixed columns. This is where it kind of gets a little more mathematically intense, but stay with me. The basic concept is actually quite straightforward. Essentially, every column of our seed matrix is treated as a 4-byte word, and it gets multiplied by a fixed matrix using something called, like I said before, the Galois field arithmetic. Don't worry too much about the math details. The key idea is every byte in a column gets mixed with every other byte in that column. So you can see that one small change from the input creates a massive change in the output. And let's take a look at our first column here. The first input that we got from the output of shift rows. So our first column of numbers is 237, 110, 131, 253. And down here at our example, column 0, we have the same numbers. After the multiplication, and again, we won't go too much into the math here, but the result is 13, 82, 130, and 32. And this is our new column, which you can see here after the mixed columns 4x4 matrix now. This is something called diffusion. It ensures that changing even one bit of the input will affect every byte in the output. And this is another reason why AES is so resistant to attacks. And by the way, mixed columns happens in every round except the final round, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. All right, now we're moving on to the next step, which is AddRoundKey. After the mixed columns, our state matrix will be XORed with a round key, the same that we did it with key 0 in the beginning. So each byte in the state will be XORed with the corresponding byte from the key. So from our example, we have the top left in our mixed columns 13. And in our round key, the top left, we have A. So these will be XORed together to get a new value again, and this happens for all 16 bytes. One of the critical parts in this process is that to note is each round will use a different round key. AES takes your original secret key and expands it into 11 separate round keys, one for the initial XOR and one for each of the 10 rounds. Also important to note is that all those round keys are generated on the fly from your original single secret key using a process called key schedule. And the real implementations, we generally will or only keep the original key secure, then the after round keys will exist temporarily only in memory and then be wiped. This minimizes the attack surface, and this is what it makes AES almost impossible to reverse. Without the key, all the transformations, subbytes, shift rows, mixed columns are just noise. The key is the only thing that can unlock this pattern. And here's kind of where the fuller context comes into play. Your password goes through a key derivation function like argon2 or pbkdf2, which generates the original AES key. That key gets expanded into round keys, which are XORed into the state matrix. Then we apply subbytes, shift rows, mixed columns, and repeat. So let's put everything together now. AES runs 10 full rounds. It starts initially with the add round key with key 0. Then rounds 1 through 9 repeat the same pattern, subbytes, shift rows, mixed columns, add round key. Round 10 is slightly different as it skips the mixed columns, and this is because it doesn't add much security in the final round, leaving it a little faster for decryption and keeping the process a little more symmetric. To reiterate, each round uses a unique key which is derived from your original secret. This cascading effect makes AES exponentially stronger with each round. And let's talk about why AES is so trusted nowadays. First is the speed. AES is incredibly fast. Modern CPUs have built-in instructions called AES NI that accelerate the encryption. Second, it is quantum resistant. You've probably heard that quantum computers will break encryption. Rover's algorithm could theoretically reduce AES 128 to 64-bit, but even that would require millions of stable qubits, and is practically impractical for decades. AES 256 drops in half to 128, which still would take billions of years to crack. Third, which is the math, AES 128 has approximately 340 undecillion combinations, which is often categorized as more than the number of atoms in the observable universe. So even with quantum computers, brute forcing is pretty much impossible. Even if you wanted more security, which is standard nowadays, AES uses 14 rounds instead of 10, providing a little bit more larger for long-term data protection. And here's one thing most people don't realize is that even if someone wanted to break AES directly, it's still impossible, computationally impossible, that no serious attacker would try. In the real world, hackers usually go for low-hanging fruit, usually for brute forcing your passwords, implementation bugs such as side channel attacks, timing attacks, power analysis. They love to use social engineering, phishing to get your password or credentials, or installing malware. But AES itself has never been the weak link. There is no practical full break for AES 128 or 256 in probably the next 20 plus years. That's why it's been so standardized nowadays, and experts trust it now. It's often used for classified government data, WhatsApp messages. It's used in Bitcoin wallets. So that's pretty much AES. Simple operations, substitution, permutation, mixing, and key addition. This is repeated. If you found this helpful, drop a like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what topic you want me to break down next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.